And we're back with some more Hartford Whalers franchise mode, and this time in FHM 9. And we're going to continue this for a little while longer here. I do want to try at least one more time for the Stanley Cup here in Hartford before we move on to the next series. It is July 1st, 1985, so we're going to take a look at our roster and see what we need out of free agency. So Vernon is a 2.5-star goaltender now, and Garrett is a 1-star goaltender, unfortunately. And that would make sense given his performance last year, only an .861 in 23 games played. I think it's safe to say we need to move on from him. Defensively, we have 7 defensemen. Everything looking okay. I mean, we could use an upgrade for sure. Maybe to our top 4. Maybe get another 3-star defenseman in there. But I doubt we're going to be getting that through free agency. And forward-wise, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 forwards. So forward-wise, I would say we're covered. Defensively, we could use, like I said, another top 4 defenseman, I think. And we do need a backup goaltender because Garrett, I don't think he's going to be able to get it done at a 1-star ability now. There is Tom Barrasso in the minors. He's only a 1-star ability, but he's only 20, so he has the potential to get better. Whereas Garrett at this point is just going to continue regressing. There's also Engelbrecht in free agency, a 27-year-old goaltender. Goalie ratings aren't exactly where I'd like them to be, but that mental category is certainly very interesting. So I think I'll sign Engelbrecht here. I'll give him 2 years, $25,000. And as expected, he's the best player in free agency. So I doubt we're going to be finding a top 4 defenseman here is Milan Chalupa. I mean, it doesn't look too bad, but, I don't think he would be an improvement over anything we have besides maybe Samuelson. Yeah, I don't think he would be much of an improvement over anyone here. There's Randy Buchik, who we could sign as a depth forward. 1.5-star ability, 1.5-star potential. Pretty good offensively. He's, I suppose, serviceable defensively. Good physical ratings. Yeah, let's sign Randy Buchik as a depth forward. And I think that's all we're doing in free agency here. Nothing else really catching my eye. Now I'm going to take a look at the trade block, see if there is any defensemen who stand out. Yeah, there's nobody on the trade block. Steve Smith on Toronto looks interesting. He's a 22-year-old defenseman, so I would imagine if Toronto gives him up, they're going to want quite a bit back. He's a 2.5-star ability, 3-star potential. Yeah, I want to try to get Smith. And since the drafts don't seem to be all too productive in these historical GM modes, I think I'm just going to focus on trades. I think that's how we need to do it here. Because unfortunately, the drafts in historical GM modes don't seem to be all too great. And you see what I mean here. The top 5 guys, as far as potential go, are all goaltenders. And they all have like a 0.5-star ability besides Richter. And then after that, the best potential player is Fredrik Olsson with a 2.5-star potential and a 1-star ability. And there's only 4 2.5-star potentials that are available in this draft. We may not even get a 2.5-star potential player with our first round pick. Like, we might be stuck with a 2-star player. So you see what I mean about it's basically impossible, it seems, to build a team through the draft here. So that's why I feel like we need to go after Steve Smith here. Wow, they really don't want to give him up. I'm offering a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, and Khmylev just for Steve Smith, and they're not accepting that. I guess that goes to show how little value picks actually have in this universe. Because Smith's a good player, but it's not like he's got, franchise-changing potential. At least not from what we can see. He's only got a 3-star potential. I mean, he's only a 2.5-star ability, so he's close to hitting his potential already. So either they just value him really highly, or draft picks just don't go for much. And to be honest, I understand. The computer's mindset here because, as we've seen, the draft just is not great. Although Toronto is a win-now team, so I can understand why they wouldn't value draft picks too highly. Let's see if there's any other teams that are in the middle of a rebuild who'd be willing to take some picks. Maybe the Rangers? They don't seem to have anyone too spectacular. Let's see. Yeah, they're in the middle of a rebuild. Could I get, let's say, Dave Maloney? 28 years of age. Decent checking rating. Pretty good all around, really. Well balanced. Okay, so at least the Rangers seem to be a bit more receptive to the first round pick than Toronto, which makes sense. So Khmylev, a 1st and the 2nd will do it. Our 1st is going to be pretty late, considering that it goes by regular season rankings, and I believe we were 3rd in the NHL. So that's going to be, I think, the 19th overall pick, if I'm not mistaken. And if we take a look at the draft page here, by the 19th overall pick, it's just going to be 2-star players at that point. So yeah, I think I might do this. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I mean, It does seem like a bit of an overpayment just given the first and the second, but remember, neither of those picks really hold much value at this point. So for me, it seems more worth it to trade it for a top 4 defenseman, which I think we need, as opposed to just holding on to those picks and taking a 2-star player at best. And that's with the first rounder, right? So let's just take a look at Khmylev here. Yeah, I think this will be worth it for Maloney. And he's right in his prime too. He's 28, so we could get at least a few years out of him. Yeah, this is a good deal. Offer trade, and we're not going to get it until at least the draft. We do have to wait for a response. And there it is. The New York Rangers have accepted our trade offer of Yuri Khmylev, a first and a second in this year's draft for Dave Maloney. Complete trade. All right, so our defensive core looking much better now. It now consists of Coffey, Howe, Roberts, Maloney, Levo, Rochefort, Nyland, and Samuelson. And forwards looking good, so I think we can just skip right to the draft here and see what happens. So our first pick of the draft is pick 61, where there is nothing. So yeah, pretty quick draft here, unless there's some hidden gem. I don't think so. Like, this is just all garbage. So we're just going to have the computer finish the draft here. All right, there we go. That was probably one of the quickest drafts in channel history because we barely did anything in the draft, and it was more so about the trade for Dave Maloney. So hopefully he turns out to be a good asset for us for the next few years to come. And once we get Buchik and Engelbrecht signed, I believe that'll be it for this offseason. There's really not much for us here. All right, very nice. There is Engelbrecht and Buchik. So with that, I think we are ready to move on to the preseason of year number, what is this now, 7? Yeah, we're going into year number 7 now. And the Hall of Fame inductions, Gordie Howe has been inducted into the Hall of Fame along with Stan Mikita, Vic Hadfield, and Cesar Maniago. Yep, Garrett's getting sent down here. Sorry, Garrett, you had a good run, my man, but it is time to move on. All right, so we're headed into the regular season now, and here is our lineup for the start of year number 7. In goal, you have Vernon and Engelbrecht. On defense, you have Coffey, Howe, Roberts, Levo, Maloney, Rochefort, Nyland, and Samuelson. And at forward, you have Curry, Andrechuk, Peter Stastny, Nichols, Anton Stastny, Poulin, Rogers, Kissio, Beers, Pedersen, Neufeld, Buchik, and Thoresen. Unfortunately, we are starting out with a few injuries here. Mark Howe, Anton Stastny, and Eddie Beers, but they all seem to be day to day. Besides Stastny, he's 1 to 2 weeks, but that shouldn't be too big of a hindrance. Marian Stastny is still under control as a free agent. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back for some depth there. Yeah, I'll sign him. Ooh, Ray Neufeld claimed on waivers by LA. That's unfortunate. Had to send him down with Anton Stastny coming back. All right, so we have an injury to Engelbrecht here. So we're going to have to put him on the injury list, and it looks like he has not been doing too well this year save percentage-wise. 850 save percentage. Yikes. So it looks like we will be calling up... Barrasso went down to a half-star talent. That's kind of rough. I guess we'll see what Garrett can do once again. I mean, he's got a 916 save percentage down there in the AHL so far, so maybe he could get back to where he was. All right, I mean, he's doing well. 2 games so far, 941 save percentage. So much for signing Engelbrecht, because at this point I'm tempted to send him down. Hopefully he doesn't get claimed. All right, so we're on December 1st. We are 12-10 so far. Definitely not ideal. We're 3rd in the division behind Detroit and Pittsburgh. But luckily, no one seems to be really pulling away just yet. Within our conference, at the very least. I mean, Calgary and Edmonton in the Campbell Conference, not looking like we'll catch them at this point, at least with how we're going right now. But we could definitely still make first in our conference at the very least. So let's check out how we're doing offensively. Nichols leads the way with 28 points in 22 games. Curry with 23 in 17 games. 22 for Stastny, 19 for Coffey. So it looks like we're doing about what I expect as far as offensive numbers go. And goaltender stats, Vernon with an 879 save percentage in 13 games played. Check the team stats. Goals for per game, we are sitting 10th in the league with a 3.86, so we could be doing better. Goals against per game, we're 6th in the league with a 3.32. That's kind of shocking, given the performance of Engelbrecht before. Face-off wise, we are 8th with a 50.7. Oh, I love the new team stats screen. It's so much easier to read. Like now with it being highlighted and all, it's so much easier. I love it. Power play, 15.9%. So that is definitely an area of concern, though it hasn't usually been in the past. So that's a bit odd considering our goal scoring prowess. Penalty kill, we are 9th in the league with an 80%. So a bit all over the place so far this year. I would like to try to get an offensive defenseman here. And I think one has caught my eye in Pierre Lacroix on Quebec. Good puck handling, decent offensive read and passing, good physical ratings, good mental ratings, and he's got a good defensive grade to go along with it, 82 currently. So I think I want to try to trade for him. I'm a little concerned about Barrasso. Just the fact that he's gone back to a half-star ability, and the fact that he's been a one-star ability for the longest time and then he just regresses to half-star. I don't know. That's very concerning. I mean, he's doing all right there with the save percentage so far this year in the AHL. So I don't know why he just regressed like that. Think I might add him to this trade. I mean, Tom Barrasso, 2 seconds, a third, and a 12th for Pierre Lacroix. That might not be a bad idea, considering the lack of depth in all the drafts so far, and considering how Barrasso has gone backwards. I'm going to keep this trade in the back of my mind for now. What I want to do is I want to see how well Tom Barrasso simulates in the NHL, if given the chance. So for right now, I'm going to send Garrett down. Hopefully he's not claimed. And I want to see what happens with the Barrasso. So we're now on January 1st. We are 18, 16, and 2. Definitely not pretty. Barrasso's played in 5 games so far with an 882 save percentage. I don't know. That is definitely not impressive. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised given his half-star talent, but I was kind of hoping he would be able to put on a different performance in the NHL as opposed to just staying there in the AHL, but doesn't look like it. Goals for per game, we're at 3.75 right now, 12th in the league. And goals against per game, we're 6th with a 3.36, so at least we're keeping it out of the net. But we cannot seem to figure out the offense for some reason. 14.6 power play. Wow. That is last in the league. And penalty kill, 7th in the league with an 8%. So defense seems fine. I'm going to send Barrasso down, and then I'll call Garrett up. It is oddly enough the offense that seems to be drying up this season, which I don't believe is a problem we've had too often in this GM mode. So it's weird that it's started to happen now. Yeah, I think I'm going to resume that trade for Pierre Lacroix of the Quebec Nordiques. They'll just accept Barrasso for Lacroix straight up. I don't even have to include a pick. I mean, his consensus ability says 1.5 and his consensus potential says 4.5. So I'm a bit hesitant to give up on him, but I don't know. He hasn't shown me much so far to be looking forward to. I mean, Vernon hasn't been doing great either, in fairness. He's only at 881 save percentage this year, and it looks like that's where he's going to stay for the majority of his career. But I'm really concerned about Barrasso with how he regressed from a 1-star to a half-star. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this. I mean, I hate to give up on Barrasso so early, but we really need some offensive help, and Pierre Lacroix, I think, can help that. Ooh, never mind. I found a great offer from the LA Kings. Marcel Dion, 34 years of age, so he's getting up there in age, but he still knows how to put it in the back of the net. 14 goals, 22 assists for 36 points in 37 games played so far this year. That could definitely help. That could definitely help our scoring woes. And as far as Barrasso goes, I mean, once again, I hate to give up on him, but we desperately need some offense right now. And we're getting a 2nd-round pick in return. And I mean, obviously that's not much value to us at this point, but, you know, it's still a trading chip, potentially, of the future. I think we got to do this. Barrasso for Dion and a 2nd-round pick offer trade. And yep, they have accepted our offer for Marcel Dion. And it only took Tom Barrasso. And yeah, we're now 18, 18, and 2. We're losing games pretty frequently now, and usually we're only scoring 2 or 3 goals. So I think we got to do this for Marcel Dion here. Complete trade. There it is, boys. Marcel Dion, the newest member of the Hartford Whalers. There you go. He is on the 2nd line now with Bernie Nichols and Anton Stasny. So let's see what that does for our offensive output. Hey, new achievement, Gordie Howe hat trick. One of your players had a goal, assist, and a fight in the same game. And pretty funny that it happened in the Hartford Whalers save file where, of course, we did have Gordie Howe as one of our players. Well, we're on March 1st now. We are 30, 29, and 3. I've been trying my best. I don't know what to do anymore to try to fix this team because we seemingly cannot get above 500. Let's take a look at the team stats. Goals for per game. We are now 8th in the league with a 3.94, so that's gotten better. I would certainly hope it's gotten better since we acquired Mr. Marcel Dion. 20 points in 24 games for us. Goals against per game, we are 9th in the league with a 3.63. Power play is still kind of failing, 16.9. It's better than before. I believe it was 14.9 before, so a whole 2%, but unfortunately still really not where it needs to be. And penalty kills at a 79.5, 9th in the league. So really our team's just been stagnant this year. I don't understand why. And the only area where we really improved was offense, and that was just because of a trade for Dion. And he's definitely helping the offense, but unfortunately our team doesn't seem to have benefited much from it as far as our record goes. Stasny was 73 points, Nichols was 68, Curry was 61. So we're getting a lot of scoring based off this. In goal, Vernon with an 866, 876 for Garrett. Ugh, man. We just can't seem to figure out goaltending. I think that's the problem. And obviously, Barrasso wasn't really much of a solution in goal either. So really not much to be said here about these Hartford Whalers, except I guess we'll just simulate past the trade deadline. We'll go to the end of the season and see where the playoffs take us, and hopefully we can make it through the playoffs to the Stanley Cup. Because frankly, I'm mostly out of ideas for this team. I'm not entirely sure what to do anymore. Because it's tough to build a team in this era, at least with traditional rebuilding means, because the draft is not great. Free agency is virtually non-existent. So you're basically just working off trades and any like top 5 picks that you happen to get in the draft. But that's really about it. Because honestly, I'm not sure if we've had any draft picks besides Coffey and Anderchuk make our roster. Bernie Nichols. There's Bernie Nichols. Is there anybody else? Vernon, I guess. Was Nyland a draft pick? I think so. Yeah, we picked him in round 2. But still, I don't believe there's too many homegrown draft picks on this team. And for good reason, because they're really tough to find. They're really, really tough to find good draft picks in these historical GM modes. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's Nyland, Bernie Nichols, Anderchuk, and Coffey. And Coffey was, he was a given. He was picked at number 5. So if we can't get it done this year, then I'm not really too sure where to go from here, to be honest. I mean, I suppose we could try trading for a goaltender. We could try trading for a goaltender to replace Vernon, because let's be real, he hasn't been great. But then again, there's not many goaltenders in the league that have been great either, even for this era's standards. Yeah, like the highest save percentage is a 902. Then it goes down to 897, 894, 893. But Vernon's all the way down there at 866. So, like, we do need to get better in goal. That's for sure. I just don't know which of these teams would be willing to give up a goaltender who is good enough to actually be worth the upgrade. I mean, if we're going all out here, Grant Fuhrer might not be a bad option. Some pretty good save percentages over the years. Last year wasn't so great, 883, but he's back to an 892 this year. And they would take Vernon 2 firsts and the second. So if we're going to make a final push here in this GM mode, this might be it. Oh, wow. They're not willing to move an elite player without something significant in return. So even though the trade valuation says they would accept, they're still not willing to part with Grant Fuhrer. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do at this point, I don't think, to improve our goaltender situation. Like, Vernon is just who we have to roll with. That was the only thing that even had a possibility of happening, and we just got shut down by Calgary for what was a pretty good offer in 2 firsts, a second, and Vernon. So, there's not really much we can do about the goaltending situation at this point. We just have to hope that Vernon gets it together. Who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky in the playoffs and just steamroll through every team. I mean, I doubt that, but still, there's not much we can do as far as trades to improve the team at this point, because I feel like I've done everything that I could possibly do. We acquired Maloney in the offseason. We acquired Marcel Dion just recently. And for this time period, this forward core is pretty darn good. If we take a look at the forward cores of other teams throughout the league, I mean, we're among the best. We have among the best forward core. I would say I'd put us top 3 forward core for sure. I mean, obviously there's Edmonton. I would put Edmonton at number 1, just given, Gretzky, Messier. But we're up there as far as forward talent goes. On defense, I would say we're a top defensive core too. I don't think this is even bias speaking. I think this is a fact that we have, on paper, one of the most talented defensive cores in the league, besides maybe Boston, who has Bourque and Park. Besides Boston, I would say we have, once again, a top 3 defensive core on paper. So it's just goaltending, man. It's just goaltending that's killing us. And every goaltender we've had so far has just been not really there as far as save percentage goes, with the exception of Garrett for like 1 year. So I just feel like there's not much I can really do at this point. Whatever happens, happens. It's one of those situations you just have to let it play out and hope for the best, I think, because there's really not much I can do at this point. At least not much that I haven't already done. Because we have a respectable offense. We have a respectable defense. So, yeah, let's just advance. I mean, I hate doing this. I really do. I feel like I need to do something else because the team obviously is not in an optimal state right now. But I really just have no other ideas as far as what to do with this team. So, besides maybe trading all of our draft picks. But, I mean, you saw me try to acquire Grant Fuhr, but that wasn't possible even though I had put up a decent amount of value. Not only Vernon, but 2 first-round picks and a second. That wasn't enough. So to get a star player like that, we would have to give up, another star. Like, we would have to give up Coffee or Curry for a Grant Fuhr. And that's not something I'm willing to do. So yeah, we're just going to advance to the end of the regular season here. Oh no. Gordy Roberts injured just before the playoff starts. A torn rotator cuff for 4 months. That's unfortunate. One of our better defensemen too. Yeah, that's first line right D. Oh man. And we have finished the regular season 40, 36, and 4, so definitely pretty rough. I mean, we finished 4th in our conference, so it wasn't terrible, but we're definitely on the downswing now as far as our record goes, because last year were 48, 23, and 9. The year before we were 57, 17, and 6. So this team is definitely hurting from poor drafting. But I don't feel like I'm really to blame for that because all of the good players in the draft are top 5, and it feels like everything else on the draft is just not good. It's not where it needs to be, at least for these historical GM modes. Because earlier today on one of my personal save files, I was going through a modern GM mode, and the draft is just full of players who are 4-star, 3.5-star, 3-star, and that goes on for rounds on end. Like, there are still 2-star players by the end of the 7th round. At the start of the 3rd round, this past draft, there was only 1-star potential players. That's it. So, I mean, it really seems like these historical GM modes are tough to rebuild in. And again, I don't want to make any excuses, but like it's definitely a lot different from what I'm used to. I'll say that. So here's the final stats for the season. You have Stasny with 94 points on the season, Nichols with 92, 87 for Curry, 82 for Dion. 46 of those points are with us in 42 games. Andrew Chunk with 76, 70 for Coffee, 57 for Anton Stasny, 46 for Howe, 40 for Rogers, 39 for Kissio, 38 for Beers, 36 for Poulon, 31 for Levo, 27 for Rochefort, 26 for Pettersson, 23 for Thorson, 22 for Stasny, and 17 for Maloney, 16 for Samuelson, 9 for Nyland. And in goal, you have Garrett with an 80 save percentage in 15 games, and Vernon with an 870 in 57 games. Not a good season for him. Like I said, it felt like there wasn't really much I could do on that front. So we're just going to have to deal with that going into the playoffs. Goals for per game, we are 6th in the league with a 4.17, so at least our goal scoring did pick up as the season went on. Even goals against per game, we're 5th in the league somehow with a 3.51. So despite our poor save percentages, pretty good defensive performance. Power play, unfortunately, sitting last in the league at a 16%, and the penalty kill is 11th in the league with a 78.9. So despite having struggles in goal, we still managed to be one of the top 5 teams defensively. Very interesting. For that, I think we'll end things off here. And the next one, we will get to the Year 7 playoffs, starting against the Montreal Canadiens. See you guys in the next one.